Welcome, everybody. My name is Matteo Vecchi. Welcome to Nova Scribes on this, Tuesday, August 5th. Tonight's session will be on yes and improv skills to boost your dynamic facilitation with Judy and Samantha. Before we get into that content, I'm going to do a little bit of a PSA on Nova Scribes. We are a free and open forum for visual practitioners to share their knowledge. So anyone who uses visuals to move others, you're welcome here, and also their friends, because why not? Nova Scribes is a group of volunteers, so anyone can be an organizer, a presenter, or just a member, and it's, by the way, free to be a member. The proceeds, since we do charge a little bit for any session, they go directly to the presenters and also to the meetup group in terms of scholarships and to help build our community of visual practitioners. I don't know if we have any scholars in the room, quote unquote, right now, but if so, wave your hand. Okay. We're organizing classes, graphic jams, open spaces, you name it, and we're doing it 100% virtually right now because we can. And we provide our recorded webinars online for free. So feel free to circle back to our list of past events if you're so inclined, you got the time to do it. Also, if anyone is interested in presenting a topic, trying a topic out as a pilot, or workshopping an idea, please reach out to Brian, Rachel, Marcel, and myself. We'd love to try that out with you, and it's a really safe space to really work with some people that are willing to learn and try things out as well. The last thing I'll talk about, we're organized through our Meetup app, which you already know about. We've got a whole bunch of programming lined up in the weeks ahead. Just 2 days away, we've got a session with Tracy Carmen Jones. Our story, Race in America. Can't wait to get into that. Very apropos to our times, and the time is now, by the way. On Monday next week, we've got an innovation roundtable for visual practitioners. Lauren Green, one of our former organizers, now a member, wants to workshop an idea that she's got. So tune in for that on how our profession is changing in this special time that we're in. We've got Getting Meta with Visual Templates. Rachel and myself will be leading that. That's on the 17th of August. 25th, we've got a session on cultural storytelling through cards. Why work shouldn't suck. And a few others. We've got a session with Mike Rohde on September 3rd on sketchnoting side by side with Mike. These are all special in their own unique way. And finally, we've got online facilitation hacks and remote scribing jam with It's a Conversation with Brian and Rachel Smith. So stay tuned. We've got more in the hopper there. I'm going to shift it over now to Brian/Judy and Samantha, who are conveniently all by my side on this gallery view. Take it away.
So Judy and I know each other from doing improv. We both have trained at Washington Improv Theater. I am on one of the Herald teams there, but we're different. We do other things besides improv. I'm a DEI specialist and do a lot of team building and coaching. I do leadership development programs. And Judy?
Hi. So I am an OD consultant living in DC. Is there anybody not in the DC area who's with us today? Oh, sweet. Yay. We branched out. Beautiful. I love meeting people from other places. I've been doing OD consulting for a couple of years now in the DC area. I do a lot of facilitation, a lot of business process improvement, working with federal clients with FEMA, which is a really interesting place to work and observe. And then in the evenings and on the weekends, I would do improv because that's so much more fun. And I've grown to really, really love it. And it's been, I think if you haven't done improv before, highly recommend it, even if you're scared of it, especially if you're scared of it, because it can be so empowering to get over that hump and be like, wait, I'm comfortable doing this. This is so much fun. So yeah, that's all I want to say about that.
And so just to set expectations, we're going to do 4 games today with you all, and we're really going to be looking at how you would use them as a facilitator. So in terms of like developing your own ease, they might help a little bit, but for that we would recommend an actual like 8-week improv course that would be all about you and you getting comfortable with those things. This is really from the facilitator's perspective. So with that, I think we're ready. We're going to go into breakout rooms, and Judy and I think the first 7 people or 8 people, Brian, maybe your math is better, can go in the breakout rooms, and then the second half can stay here with me. And then Judy and I will switch. So I will see you shortly, those of you leaving.
Okay, we'll go ahead and open up the breakout rooms now. You should, through the magic of Zoom, be whisked away. See you soon.
So good to have you all here. Notice your number really quickly. Brian will put you, I can't change your number because you're a host, so you can be 16. And I will be 7 for this round. What we're gonna do is called Sound in Motion. The way it works is it's a yes and game. It's really at the principle of it is the fundamental principle of improv is yes and. So I'm gonna make a weird sound and motion, and then Lee, who's number 8, will do his best to mirror what I gave him. But then Nancy, actually, I'm sorry. Judy and I agreed we were going to give you guys a minute just to introduce yourselves, say hi and your name, and one short sentence about yourself so that you guys get to know at least half the group. So Lee, would you start us off?
You're muted.
Yeah, you're muted, Lee. Sorry.
There. New to Zoom, perhaps. I'm Lee, and I grow pies, but it has nothing to do with pumpkin or French silk.
Okay. Nancy, you're up.
Nancy, I live in Nashville and teach at Vanderbilt.
Jen, I'm a mom and I'm in the DC area.
I'm Rhonda Van Diest and I live in the DC area also, and I haven't done improv since college.
And we don't have a 12, so 13.
Hi, I'm 13. Hi, I'm Carla. I'm also in the DC area. I've not done improv. I'm a mom and glad to be here.
I'm Greg from Santa Barbara, California. A little bit of experience with improv and looking forward to this.
Hi, I'm Hermika. I'm from Alexandria, Virginia, Washington, D.C. area. I am actually nervous about improv. I think I do improv a lot, but I think when you're forced to sort of do it in this group, I'll have to step out of myself and learn something from it.
We'll make sure you feel supported here.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, and Trent, there you are. You are 12. I was looking.
I am number 12, and I act like I'm 12. I'm Trent from Northern Virginia, and I'm a facilitator, graphic recorder, hand-drawn videos, and I think everything I do is improv based on a little bit of strategy.
Mm-hmm. And you all know Brian and myself. Great. So what we're going to do, we're just going to jump in. I'm going to make a weird sound and motion, and then Lee is going to mirror me. Nancy is going to mirror Lee. You forget what everybody else has done. Just mirror the person right before you. So be aware of the number and be watching that square. Yeah, and everybody, if you can unmute, it'll just make it better.
Boo!
I can't believe we're recording this.
Great. Let's call it there. Great job, guys. So I just want to ask you a couple questions, and then I'm going to give you the facilitator's note on why we would do this. What was that like, and what did you learn doing it? Go for it, Lee.
I wonder if and I had the good fortune of coming right after you. I'm wondering if it was tempting if a person was later on to mimic you as the leader and to go get it right, or to do the person right in front of you.
Anybody have an answer? Anybody tempted to go back to something else that they saw?
No, I was
Yes.
just watching Hermika. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, whatever Hermika does is what I'm doing.
I was surprised how fun it was. It was so fun.
Yeah, it's fun to be ridiculous. It really is. What else? Well, so great, right? What we want to do is get everybody a little bit vulnerable in a safe way, but also having fun right off the bat. So this is a great way, to start a meeting. But things can happen that really help us kind of know where we're going to go later in the day. If we were start, for example, doing an all-day meeting, especially if it's an in-tech team, people can only follow the leader. And that says that there's some authority and hierarchy things going on there. People can, and I'm sorry, Brian, can I ask you to just tell Judy 1 minute via broadcast people can purposely decide to be funnier and not do what everybody else has done. So you go, wah, and they're like, bah, right? And so then we kind of see who's always making their own way. We get some indications too of group dynamics. Yeah, Greg.
I totally wanted to do something different, so I apologize, but I'm out now.
Oh,
You
no,
outed me.
you're not out, but it just helps us see the dynamics, right? Like, oh, this person's always off creating something new. And there's nothing wrong with that. It just helps us see that, okay, maybe in this team, this person is more of a lone wolf, or this person's the idea creator. It kind of helps us kind of tease out some of the dynamics of who's doing what in this. And there's nothing wrong. We're not, finding something wrong with somebody. We're just kind of, noticing. And then there's the attention people too, right? So the last thing I'll say is if somebody, really picks up on details, so right before you start, you do this, and then you do the thing, and they pick up on that. That also tells us who, if you're thinking along disc, like the S and C people might be. So it just kind of helps us tease out visually and interactively what are the roles of different people in this group. Oh man, that was a message just for Judy. Brian, can you send all those people back to the room, and Judy and I are going to switch?
Sure, no problem.
And send me. I think you have to send me. But I enjoyed my group. It was a lot of fun playing with you. I'll see you in a minute. Judy's going to take over. And those of you in the breakout room, I'm coming with you.
Sorry, I was muted. Is this everybody, Brian?
This is everybody, Judy. We're all yours.
Hey, welcome. I'm excited to play a game with you guys. Okay, so the game we're going to play is called Hashtag. Has anybody played this game before? Raise your hand if you have. No? Okay, so we are going to be creating tweets together as a group. We're all numbered, so that's the order that we're going to go in. And I think we start with, it was easier in the other group because we started with number 1. So Lee, you are number 8, so you'll be the first one to go through. Greg, do you have a question?
I do. Do you prefer that we view, is there a way, a speaker view or a grid view that you think that this works better? I'm just curious.
That's a good question. I think for some of the other games that we're going to play, having hiding non-video participants will be useful. But I think if you play in grid view, then you can see everybody, and usually that works best for the kinds of games that we're going to play. Yeah, good question. Thanks. Okay. So the game we're going to play, it's called Hashtag. We're going to be creating tweets together as a group. Each person will say one word to contribute to the sentence. And then whenever it gets to your turn, if you feel like, ooh, that was a good sentence, I want it to end right there, you get to say hashtag, and then you get to add a hashtag to it. So it can be hashtag more money, more problems, hashtag, oh, Sundays, whatever you want, okay? Just whatever feels right. So I'm gonna kick it off, and then Lee, you'll go after me. We're contributing one word at a time and creating a tweet together as a group, all right? Let's see. Plants.
Fly.
Everywhere.
Quickly.
Oh, Rhonda, you are muted.
Given.
I didn't hear Rhonda's.
I said given. G-I-V-E-N, given.
More.
Rain.
And
Stuff.
Hashtag seed pods.
Nice.
Oh, I stepped on Matt. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Matt can lead off with the next one. Matt, you get to start us off with our next tweet.
can you tell us what was the sentence ended up being? Judy?
Yeah, Brian, what did the sentence end up being?
I don't know. I heard like half of it.
I think it was plants.
Fly everywhere when
No, given
given rain, water.
sunshine.
Something
More,
like that. Okay.
more water and sand.
Okay.
Thank you, Chris. We can go a little bit slower, and everyone doesn't have to contribute to like the one sentence. It could be 3 words and then hashtag, or 4 words or 5 words and then hashtag, because getting all 8 of us in makes it really, really long. So, Matt, can we hear you now? No, we can't hear you. Okay, let's start with.
Oh, I'm back. I'm back.
Oh,
There it is.
Cats.
Cats? Cats.
Cats. Scratch.
Sand.
And
Hats.
Love.
My feet.
Hashtag loving cats.
Very nice. Beautiful.
Hashtag, I mean, who doesn't?
Greg, you can start us off on our next tweet.
Okay. Antarctica.
And Hermika, if you're speaking, we can't hear you.
Antarctica is very cold.
Oh, just one word.
Oh, is.
Lovingly.
Frigid.
And Judy, is it you or me? Are you playing?
Sure, I can play. Frigid. Hashtag Ice Queen.
nice.
I like that.
Lee, you can start us off on the next one.
Giants.
Wonder.
Why?
COVID.
Is now.
Everywhere.
Hashtag, damn it.
Yeah, Greg.
Hermika, you can start us off.
Kermit.
The
Kermit?
frog.
Oh.
Smells.
With his nose. Sorry.
Kermit the Frog smells. Like.
Miss.
Piggy.
Oh.
Hashtag Muppets.
Very nice.
All right. Play-Doh.
Feels.
Gooey under my
Fingernails.
And between?
Feet. My feet. Hashtag hate Play-Doh.
Oh, so Jennifer, was that Play-Doh Playdoughh or Plato?
I have
Okay.
this sitting on my desk from one of our other sessions, and so I just literally looked at it.
I just wondered if we took your philosophical idea of Plato and took it in another direction.
Even if we did, that would have been amazing. Oh, okay, the other group is coming back.
They act like we didn't have fun.
So Judy, how would you use this with the group?
Great question. So I've used both of these games at the beginning of, let's say it's going to be an all-day meeting or a multi-hour Zoom meeting. I use it to get people just talking, moving, thinking quickly, not too worried about the outcome of something. It's kind of just like a nice energizer at the beginning of a meeting. And it's usually very different than what we're going to be talking about in the meeting. So it's very nice to start off with something a little more fun.
Awesome. Great. Thank you.
Sam, you're muted. Samantha.
Great. So hopefully everybody had fun. You guys are awesome, both groups. I had a lot of fun playing with you. We're going to transition now. This is an exercise that you would use to create an experiential learning. I think it's just called Yes And. We'll demo it and do it, and then we'll talk about how and why we use it. So Judy and I are going to demo it first together. Do you want to build a house or a vacation, or what do you want to do?
Let's do a vacation. I need one of those.
Great. So she and I are going to plan, and we're going to put you in, and Brian, I forgot to mention this. We are going to send everybody into 2-person breakout rooms after this demo. And you'll have 2 minutes to do this with each other. What we're going to do is I'm going to offer up an idea for our vacation. And then Judy is going to acknowledge something she likes about it. And then add her own. So for example, if we were building a house together and Judy, which she wouldn't, I don't think she'd do this, but she offered up, like, let's have a room full of reptiles. And I'm terrified of reptiles. I'm not going to be like, no, I don't want that. I'm going to say, you know, I love that you want to have pets. And then I add my own contribution. We're not negating. This is a brainstorming exercise. We're saying yes to everything and finding something, not a lie, something you can truly value about what they've contributed. And you're saying, I love that you did, that you offered this because, right? Like, and then adding your own. So Judy and I are going to model it and building a vacation. Judy, I want to go somewhere with a beach.
Ooh, I love that you want to go somewhere like just out and in nature. And I think we should go to like Mexico.
What I love about that is I speak Spanish, and I would love to have some time speaking Spanish. And I want to make sure that we like get to some of the cultural what do you call it, landmarks, since we're going to such a great place.
Okay, what I love about that is that you're trying to make this a vacation with like a lot of different dimensions, which is so cool. And I think we should spend at least 4 days comatose on the beach.
I love the idea of being comatose right now, especially. And I want to make sure that there's margaritas around. So, and we're going to add margaritas to the mix.
Okay, margaritas. I love that you want to have some authentic Mexican drinks and it's going to be amazing. And I think we should bring an alligator with us for the ambiance.
I love that you want to be so connected to nature. And I'd like to have a safety plan.
A safety plan. Okay. I love that you want to think about, you want us to be safe. I love that. And I think we should, I got it. I think we should bring an elephant with the alligator because they'll keep each other company.
What I love about that is you want to, it foster interspecies relations. Like, I love that you are worried about their well-being and animal care. Mm-hmm. And I think that we really need to look at all the aspects of the care to make sure we provide them with the right food, maybe trainer, etc. So I just want to be really thoughtful about how we do it.
Okay, yeah, that totally makes sense. I love that you are trying to make sure that these animals are really well taken care of. And I think we should just buy a zoo when we're down there.
Yeah. So the idea is we're not saying no to anything, no matter how crazy it gets. We're just building and playing and acknowledging something we can find good about it and adding to it. So Brian, if you can put everybody, including yourself, in a room for 3 minutes, kind of keep track of your own. You decide. You can build a house, an office space, or plan a vacation with whatever partner you get. And you can do the random matching, Brian. Just keep doing what I love about that is, and I'm adding this, and we'll talk about it when you come back. Have fun.
No, everyone's coming back. I see some smiles. Loving it.
Good stuff. Do you guys have fun? Yeah? Anybody find it hard? If you found it hard, raise your hand. No? Good. Well, great. We're going to ask Brian to now, you're going to get another chance. In this chance, we're going to break you into groups of about 4. Just go, it can be random, Brian. Just go in numerical order. So if you've got 4, 11, and 13, go in that order, 4, 11, and 13. Mm-hmm. And build off of the person whose number's right before you and then loop back around. So you're going to do this in groups of 4, pick a new thing, a new house, a new office, a new whatever. And a couple tips, slow down if you're having trouble thinking of what you appreciate or what to add. Look the other person as much as you can in the eye and really see all that they bring to the table, and have fun with it. So go enjoy your second chance. This time give them 5 minutes, Brian, because it's a bigger group, and we'll see you all back here in 5 minutes. Just a couple people raise your hand physically if you want to comment. What did you learn by doing this technique? Go for it, Greg.
I learned those are not Nancy's bookcases.
Okay. Anybody have any learning from the exercise about what you learned? Yeah, Trent.
I learned that this is a good initiator of those kinds of conversations where you want to develop imagination and think about the future and open up doors to different possibilities.
Great, because if we're in a brainstorming and imagination mode and I'm like, yeah, I don't like that, suddenly all of our barriers go up. But if I actively acknowledge you and offer up something else, we're going somewhere. We will go far beyond anywhere we've ever gone before. Any other thoughts? Rhonda.
I thought both times that I did it, it was so easy to laugh, and it was so nice to have somebody to share that with in the moment.
Yeah, like work doesn't have to be hard, and we want to train our clients, like make it fun, throw out weird, crazy ideas. We might use them, we might not, but like make this fun. Arvo.
Yeah, it's April.
Sorry.
That's okay. It's a hard name. Yeah, just the positivity of the whole thing. You know, as you said, it's so easy to fall into negativity and sort of the yes but or the no but. You know, whereas the yes and just builds and builds and opens up. It opens things up instead of closing things down.
Right. That's exactly right. We're opening things up here. So anybody have a thought about how you might use this as a facilitator? Great.
Janelle?
And then Lee.
Team dynamic work.
Beautiful.
Sure. Because then you, as you were saying earlier, Samantha, where you use one to observe the dynamic of the gathering starts to show in that round of 4 as well. And it also builds comfort and ease with each other, which is important for establishing that team.
Beautiful.
And I love you, Lee.
If we're doing,
Oh, you guys do.
so if you're using that for brainstorming in a session, how would you recommend that we, you know, the yes and if we're trying to look for unique ideas, but we're building on each other's thoughts?
Well, so you don't have to be building the same thing in a brainstorming. You can, but by establishing a protocol, which I do with, like if I'm working with an in-tech team and we're working on a strategic plan, and the brainstorming phrase, the protocol is, you can't offer something until you acknowledge the last thing that was offered and what might be good about it. Because it starts building this rapport of positivity and acknowledgement and making sure everybody's seen. Especially when in-tech teams have particular voices, often women and people of color, who are not heard or acknowledged. So it just establishes this thing. Anybody who says something, we're going to acknowledge it in a positive way, in a true, authentic way, and then you can add your thing. Go ahead.
I just wanted to acknowledge you and how awesome that was what you just said, and ask you to keep going.
Thank you, Greg. So let me just give you a couple examples of how I use this, and then we're going to move on to another activity. Like I said, I established it as a protocol in brainstorming sessions that we always acknowledge first, and then we add our own idea. I use it in training for managers and new leaders, and especially in one-on-one clients, if they have a employee that they don't like, and they are constantly in conflict, we work on them having the supervisor hearing ideas they don't like. So I purposely throw bombs at them, and they have to find something good about it. And then their homework is to do that with that employee for a week, and it often revolutionizes the relationship. They start to see what's good from that person. I use it when we have conflict in teams to not around brainstorming, but just to start to create a way of like, how do we find the good in each other if we have a particularly toxic environment. And then I also use it when I'm like developing a coaching culture and I want to teach coaching related skills. This is another easy one to kind of change the dynamic in a team. So those are some of the ways that I use it, but you can use it in a number of ways.
Was it just me, or is it the inclination to say but instead of and sort of the big part of that? Because it did seem like it was hard not to say but.
Well, I think I can't speak for the group here. My experience is about half the people have a hard time and want to say but, and that's part of that thing that we're trying to shift in ourselves. And so these exercises, when you do them or when you offer them up to people, that's why we ask these broad questions. What did you learn? Because often you learn so much about yourself. I couldn't not say but. I had to say but every time, and then I changed it to and, right? What does that tell you about you? I'm probably always negating somebody's idea or whatever, right? Like, I'm not putting that on you, Greg, but right, it's a self-reflection that we can offer up and help people see. So that's where these big, broad questions kind of bring them back in. Judy, I talked a lot. I'm sure you have something to offer around this.
No, everything that you said was wonderful. Like literally, I was like, and yep, she got it. She said the same other thing I was going to say too. I think, yeah, everything that you said, I've also seen or experienced myself in being a participant in the activity or in leading other groups through the activity. This is the second time I think I've done this activity for people with the lens of how they could use it with other groups that they're facilitating. And it's always great to hear the different ideas that people can come up with and different connections that they are making. So I'm just loving the conversation. You guys are doing great.
Oh, this is Liz. Can I ask a question? So when I've used this before, I only use the yes and part, so not the what I appreciate about that part. But I always use a fake scenario, like something really creative where there's not a lot of like risk or cost, but I've never used it for the actual work problem that we're there to solve. Like I've never made them apply it to the actual current challenge. Have you done that? Are there pros and cons to doing that, to making it reality, the big tough thing in the elephant?
Yeah, I do it. It's a protocol for how we're going to talk about either brainstorming or difficult situations. But I do it first in a fictional way so they build the muscle. So we design a vacation or a house together, and then we establish it as a protocol. And I leave it when I leave these teams, after a multi-day or a year-long intervention, as a suggested continued protocol around difficult conversations or brainstorming.
I've used it, yeah, sorry. I've used it with clients in a situation where there's a problem that we're collectively trying to solve together. And it's been really helpful, kind of in the same thing of what Sam has said, but also I've also used it as a way with a difficult client. It's like, let's try something. I'm going to offer up something and you're not going to say that that's crap. You're going to also just say some sort of acknowledgement of it. The same with your teammates, the same with me as we're working together on something. And it's been really helpful for actual problems that we're trying to solve.
Yeah, and I saw in the comments people are saying write it up. For a team I had to fix, I definitely put it in the team room whiteboard. I put yes. We did the fictional exercise, you're right, to develop the muscle. Then I wrote it on the board. And then they did naturally build it in when there was difficult conversations being had in the team room. They had developed that rapport and learned to work that way together. That's interesting about using it with a difficult client, though, right in that moment. Thank you.
Yeah. Great. Avril, I see your hand is up.
Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, I've unmuted. Yeah, I used something like this with a group of government people one time. I was working with a government job, and they were all sort of fairly stuck in very governmenty ways of thinking about things, kind of bureaucratic and everything. So when I need to shake things up in the afternoon, I put them in circles and I gave each circle a beanbag. And then I had them sort of throw the beanbag, one person would start with an idea and then they would throw the beanbag at another person, and that person had to yes and the first idea and then build on it by making it crazier. I just wanted them to get out of their sort of boxy thinking. And I said, just get crazy. Don't worry about it. It doesn't matter if it's completely impossible. This is just to kind of refresh your thinking and help you, and who knows, there might be a good idea in there somewhere, but it doesn't matter right now. I'm just trying to get you thinking more expansively.
I love that. And I think that's a great exercise. You can combine the two as well if you want to build their acknowledgement of each other and have Crazy Town. Design a colony on Mars might be the thing that they have to yes and, right? So get freaking crazy. Or if you want to make it concrete to the thing they're working on, what's the thing that's so crazy we would never even propose or do? That's how, those are the only suggestions we're bringing to this table. But still having what I like about that protocol to kind of acknowledge. I love that. Great. Any other thoughts?
Trent?
Yes, I think I'd like to add, as someone who has brainstormed with teams designing colonies on Mars for real, there seems to be that cutoff point where, as a facilitator, you are working with a group to finally say, okay, we're starting to get out to that fringe of, yeah, I'm not a subject matter expert in your field, but I feel like we're starting to get a little too far off here. And what I found is going back to the two things, going back to the group and saying, are we at a point where we've generated a sufficient number of valuable ideas that we can actually put in the hopper and start to think about and prioritize? Number two, to have a co-facilitator with me and somebody who's capturing those ideas and building that stream of consciousness and that stream of ideas to be able to go back and do multi-dot voting, putting stars next to things, picking those ideas that we want to prioritize and expand upon further, so that as a facilitator leading the session, we're being imaginative, we're opening our minds to possibilities, and we're also grounded in some realities of what the group can actually do as they talk about building a colony on Mars, for example.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said, Trent. The only thing that I would say is when I'm in the brainstorming period, I don't ever look at reality, but we have a time limit. So for 20 minutes, we're gonna go as crazy as we can. And then we do the stars and the dots and stuff to find the realistic solutions. But I love to, because if we have something so crazy, then the next idea might actually be in the real level of realism. So it's really about like breaking down all the borders and walls so that more stuff comes out. So for me, but that's a facilitator's choice. I never in the brainstorming period check for realism. We'll take one or two more questions if you have any, and then Judy's going to lead us in another direction. So anybody have anything else they want to offer up or ask about? Go for it, Trent.
I'll offer up one more thing. A prelude to my use of this kind of exercise has been to have groups talk about the past and the present of their topic. In other words, what are the facts? What are the data? What do we know about this topic? So that everyone has kind of a broad understanding of the subject. And from that can be that launching pad to start say, you know, we can't predict the future, but let's imagine the many different types of futures to talk about the future in which we want to live, in which we want to work. So it's I found doing some of the context setting at the beginning and dealing with today's data gives them the hindsight to be able to have the foresight for the future conversation.
Great. I think Rhonda's hand is up.
I have a question, and this may be directed at Trent more than anybody else. Have you had a situation where there are people that you're facilitating who simply won't participate? Does that happen? What do you do?
Like on anything or in this particular
in this exercise?
I usually put them in bigger groups and kind of let them be the disruptor and experience what it's like to be that person in the group. I think it often, I don't call them out. I might bring them over in a side-to-side conversation if it's a more than a couple hour thing and say, hey, like, this is how we're moving forward. And then I try to make sure that I create as positive an experience for everybody else as possible. But if it's like an in-chat team thing and it's a team dynamic, then I will call it out and I'll be like, how, like we're all playing this game and trying to build skills together and you won't let us move forward. Is this like, what's your role in this group and what do you want for us here today? And really have a conversation about it. So it really depends on the circumstance. Trent, I think Rhonda wanted your thoughts, and Judy.
Sure, well, I'll share a thought, but I think there were also a lot of other heads nodding up and down. And I always keep in mind that, maybe that one individual is having a bad day. Maybe they've got some bad news. Maybe they got a flat tire on the way to the meeting or whatever it may be. Brian and I have run into folks like that where we assumed one thing, but it was something entirely different. And one of the ways I've managed that, rather than going to a larger group, is to put them into smaller groups so that that person doesn't feel as exposed.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think when I've run into someone who is choosing to be the loud objector and saying, I don't understand this doesn't make sense. What has worked for me in the past is usually to focus on the other people around them and kind of focus more energy on the people around them and to kind of just use the group and that larger energy to kind of sway them a little bit, because I've found that people will often say with their mouth, I don't want to do this, I don't understand this, and then they're doing it anyway. And I'm like, okay, you just want me to acknowledge you and like give you a little bit more attention, but you're still, whether you're saying you don't want to do it, you're saying you don't understand it, you're saying it doesn't make sense to you, but you're doing a great job. And then just focusing in on, hey, you say you didn't want to do it, but you're killing it. You're the funniest one in the room. You're having great ideas. You're making great contributions, and kind of just giving them that reinforcement in that way. That's been another way I've been able to manage those people.
I would offer just one other thing that Judy brought up is whether I'm coaching or facilitating, I always do what's called a design alliance from the coactive training, if you've done that. And so I do that with the group, and I say, we're going to get weird, we're going to get silly. I ask everybody to get on board, raise your hand. If anybody doesn't raise their hand, then we have the conversation then at the beginning of a whole day or 3 days of stuff. So that's another place to proactively preempt.
Yeah.
With that, I think we're going to move on to a new activity. Judy, take it away.
Okay, so this is kind of similar to the activity we did at the beginning where we were building something together. We were building tweets together and adding hashtags to them. We're going to be building a story together based off of an image. So I am going to show you an image pretty quickly. I don't think I'm going to leave it up for too long, so make sure you catch the image. And you are going to write down, if you can keep it in your head, that's fine. If you can write it down, that's probably better. A 3-sentence story, just a really quick story about the image, okay? And then we are going to have some volunteers, I think, and we are going to play with those stories that you guys created, all right? This is the first round. Let me get my screen and everything ready to show you the image. So the first thing, the only thing you have to worry about right now is look at the image, imprint it in your brain, and create a really short, easy 3-sentence story about it, okay? Oh, okay, here we go. All right, can everyone see my screen? Can see the image?
Yes.
All right.
Oh yeah, I meant to say yes, but I just
Okay. All right. I'm gonna stop sharing. So I'm gonna give you a couple of seconds. When you have 3 sentences in your mind, just go ahead and give me a good nod into the camera so I know that you're good to go. Okay, I think just about everyone is ready. So, Brian, how many participants do we have?
Not including the 2 of you, 17.
17. Okay. Sam, what do you think? Should we let them be in groups or just pull ask for 4 volunteers?
I guess we could give everybody experience. We have more time than we thought, so we can put in people in. Brian, do you mind another breakout room?
Sorry. Okay. So, but don't send them away yet. I have to give the second set of instructions. So you're going to be in groups of, I think, 3 or 4, perhaps. And the objective is to 1 sentence at a time, you're trying to create a story together. And you're trying to get as much of your story into the group story as possible. Try and shove as much of your story into this story, okay? You can change your sentences around. You don't have to use them exactly as they're worded, but try and get as much of your ideas in there as possible. And we're gonna give you, I don't know, like 4 minutes, 3 minutes, 3-4 minutes, whatever. Okay.
And just in terms of order, numeric, like if you're 2, 7, and 10, go in that order. Don't go 10 to, right, go in numerical order.
Okay. And Janelle, did you have a question?
Just answered it, thank you.
Okay, perfect. All right, so Brian, are we ready to move people out? Okay, we'll see you back in a minute. Okay, people are coming back. I'm seeing a lot of laughter, which is awesome. All right, so we're gonna do this one more time. This time, I'm going to show you a different image, and you're gonna go straight into the breakout room. You are not gonna think about anything up beforehand. You're gonna go straight in. You're trying to create a story together, and you're just trying to, the focus of this is to listen to what the person before you contributed and build off of what they contributed, okay? So, next image, let me see if I can.
Wait. Are we still doing 3 sentences or are we just doing 1 at a time?
You're going to contribute 1 sentence at a time. Your story can be as long as you want it to be in the time limit that you have.
But the idea is that you don't go in with a premeditated story. So you're not thinking of the 3 sentences beforehand. You all have the same image to start off with, but you listen to the first sentence and then you think of the second sentence and then the third person thing, right? So the idea is that you approach it kind of as a blank slate.
Okay. All right. Can everyone see the image? 5, 4.
Yes.
2, 1. Imprint it in your brain. I'm going to stop sharing. Brian is going to send you all off to your breakout room. I think we're all here. Okay, cool. So would anyone like to share the story that their group came up with, or at least give us a flavor of where you guys landed, what you guys created? If you can remember.
Go ahead, Greg.
Picture, all right, I take no responsibility for the story, but picture a dragon eating a cat lady and passing the retainer in what in this alternate reality comes out as colorful ice cream cones. And you get the
gist.
Fun. Yeah.
That's delightful.
Just so you know, I went last. I was like.
Beautiful. Any other group want to share? Ron?
So Avril and Jennifer and where's our other one? And Nancy and I. So we had a magic ice cream truck that gave us ice cream. Okay, we couldn't decide the flavors. So then everybody got their own flavor and it was magical and it was, it made everybody love everybody else. The end.
Oh, lovely. I love that story. Okay. And Brian is showing us the image again. How did you find it so fast? Like, I guess you just Googled what I Googled.
Yeah, just screenshot it off your screen.
Oh, okay. Smart. Cool. Okay, so we did 2 rounds of that, and I'm curious to hear from you guys. What did you notice? What was different between them? What was hard? What was easy? Any observations that you had?
I found it was easier the second time when we went in unscripted and we just built off of each other's ideas, and the co-creation was it was a lot of fun.
Nancy, yeah, you had your hand up.
Actually, I was going to say exactly what Deb said, that the second time was much more fun because it was collaborative and it wasn't so much about advocating for your own idea as it was listening to and building off the ideas of others. It made it more fun.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting how easy it was to throw somebody, to get thrown off, and you're trying to, like 2 people ahead, you're trying to plan, and the unscripted thing just send it in a completely different direction. So it required some on your feet thinking.
Trent, you had an observation?
I think because we practiced this a little bit more and gotten more comfortable with it, I noticed in my group we started to use different types of sentences or phrases. We turned some of them into questions. We left some of them open-ended. We left some of them with, you know, ellipses at the end to say, okay, you have to fill in the blank now. And in ways started to challenge each other a little bit as well and throw it over the fence and see what the next person could do with it.
Yeah, so this is one of my favorite activities to do because with a group, but then also just personally for myself, I've definitely found myself getting ready to go into a meeting, have it all in my head, okay, these are the things that I want to get, make sure that are part of the design plan or something. And then I get in there and I feel myself being so closed off to other people's ideas, other people's contributions to creating something together. And this activity really kind of highlights, I think what you all were saying, it was easier, it was more fun when you came in just as a blank slate. You guys had the same context, you had the same image, and then you allowed the group to create something new together. Yeah, Sam, I'm gonna throw it to you for some additional things about how you have used this in the past.
Great. Well, so there's kind of two activities in this one, and you can pair them or have them separate. So the second round, it's called Line at a Time Story, works really well as an opener too, just to build team rapport, fun, and creativity. So you can use that as a standalone, but you can use the two together when you've got the specific objective of working with perspectives or conflict situations where, you know, especially if you've got like two teams fighting for their way, this can highlight like what's the difference in the ways we're working. And if you don't preface it, I mean, I think what I want you to get is all of this stuff that we've done, we've not told you what you're learning beforehand. We're like, let's do this weird thing, go. And then we're like, okay, what's the impact? So if you have your teams do this and they're not expecting to see the difference in, hey, if I'm going in fighting for my perspective, you know, how's that affecting my work relationships? Then they just see it and they feel it. And then you can ask a question like, so how does this apply to your work relationships after all of that debrief? So depending on the goal of the exercise and where it is and all sorts of things, I would use one or the other or both together to really highlight the difference of sticking to what I know or sticking to what I want and co-creating. But if you've got a team that is not really struggling with fighting for their perspective, this second half can really just be used as another yes and activity, as an icebreaker after a break, as a way to create some fun and connection. So those are some of the things that I would offer up about it. Any questions or thoughts from the gallery? Lee, and before Lee goes, I'm just gonna say there's about 6 or 7 people we haven't heard from that I would love it if your hand was raised the next time I call. Lee.
So how do you handle the apparent confusion there can be in giving directions? At times you want people to struggle with exactly why are we doing this, and that's intentional. And then other times it's just a matter of I didn't give good enough instructions. How do you get across confidence to the people that yes, you can expect to struggle a little bit, and figuring out what you're going to do in your groups is actually part of the desired outcome that I'm after?
So I generally just throw people in and they get it. When somebody pushes back, I say almost word for word what you did. So if we're doing a multi-day thing, the first time there's a lot of questions about the instructions, and the second time there's about half as many questions about the instructions, and by the third time they're like, oh, this is how she teaches us. We get it. I think by telling people too much, you get them in their heads of like, what am I supposed to be learning, rather than just having fun. So I try not to give them too much about that, and just like, and I do again at the very beginning a designed alliance where I say, I'm going to ask you to do weird things. don't worry about the why. It's, you know, we know from neuroscience that trying new things reprograms the wires in your brain. Just try it, have fun. If it's really not working, you can let me know on the feedback, right? And so I get everybody's buy-in to just be weird for a couple days. Anything else on this, Judy, or?
I don't think so.
Anybody want to raise their hand, ask a question? Or make a comment?
I don't have a question. I like to make an observation for both instances. I would say the first time I did an improv, so maybe that demonstrates my propensity to make my own rules sometimes. I don't know if that's rebellion or just my style. And then the second time, Greg and I were last, and we really had a lot to think about in terms of our story. It was quite hard to swallow. And so I would say that it taught me to not focus on whether it made sense or whether it didn't make sense or whether it was even a great idea, but how could you still look for an opportunity to build on it? If you can build on it, your imagination will allow you to go somewhere that you didn't think of going before.
Beautiful. And when you ask a question like, what did you get from this, or what are you learning? The participants will tell you those things, right? Because how it's going to impact them depends on what's going on in their minds. And right, like I can think of a time early on in my career when I used to do international development work where I got possibly the worst project. It was just written terribly. And I could have thought like, this is a terrible design, terrible budget, and focus on that, or I can take it and build from it. So the other thing that this Yes and does is like help us acknowledge what's there, right? Like this is the reality. We've got this budget and these objectives, and we can use it to help people learn to think on their feet. I think for us as facilitators as well, it's very much like I go in with a clear outline of what I'm going to do, but I have 3 or 4 backup ideas for every single exercise because some stuff just doesn't jive with a particular group. New ideas come up. And so I really use my improv skills to recreate and redesign as I'm going. And I try to get my participants to start thinking about their work that way as well. So thank you, Hermika. Is that right?
Hermika, that's
Hermika.
fine.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, something you just said, Sam, sorry, something you just said, Sam, like reminded me of something. I think especially in the virtual environment, having 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 backups has proven to be very beneficial when facilitating, when leading meetings, when even just trying to collaborate with other people that I'm doing work with, and being able to like practice that skill of just trying something new has been so valuable. And I've seen it in some of the meetings that I am leading. People are more ready to try something new because all the ways that they used to do things are now no longer available to them. So there's just something about capitalizing on people being in that brain space of like, okay, well, everything else is just up in the air, so might as well try this new thing. Like it could be fun. Yeah.
So were there any other questions or thoughts on this activity? I'm gonna throw in there, if it's okay with you, Judy, one other quick exercise. I want, if 2 or 3, 4 people could raise their hand that know that they have the ability to annotate. Some old computers you can't draw on a shared screen. If you know you do and you're willing to participate, just raise your hand. So I've got Mateo, Ashanti, anybody else?
Avril.
Avril, yeah. One more would be awesome.
What's the requirement?
So can you just share a whiteboard, Brian? When there's a whiteboard, up at the top, there's an ability to, there's like a drawing tool. If you go to view options, it says annotate. So if you got that, if some people's computers don't allow them to do it. If you can do that, you can be one of them.
Okay.
You can do it,
I can
Greg?
do it.
Our fourth. So let me clear everything. All right, so I just want to show you, since this is a visual group, I never did this in person, but it will be something I'll be adding, because you can just put one of those poster boards up or a whiteboard and do the same thing. The idea here is you're going to build a picture together, and each of you, so in numerical order, so Ashanti, Mateo, I think Avril's next in numerical order, and then Greg. We'll just add a line at a time. You've got 2 minutes to create a picture together. So there's the stamps and the arrows, and you can do whatever. And you just do it one at a time. So I'm just repeating the instructions. Go.
What order are we in?
I can't tell who's going next.
Okay, so what helps is who's drawing that eye right now? Mateo, Ashanti, Greg.
Draw.
Avril, are you drawing? I mean, the picture is gorgeous. Well, okay.
Yeah.
So let's just start over. Not start over, but start from here. Avril, draw. When you're done, say the next person's name.
Okay.
So one thing at a time.
So you want me to draw?
Yeah, just draw one more thing. Either one line or one box or one stamp.
Okay.
Great. And then it's Ashanti's next.
Oops.
Mateo.
Okay.
Greg. Did you draw something, Greg? Oh, there it is. Greg. So then back to Avril. Ashanti. Mateo. Great. Let's pause it there. You can stop sharing. So everybody take in the beauty, and then we'll stop sharing. Brian, can you stop sharing? Perfect. So that's a way to visually do line at a time story. You give an order, and then I often create like some, depending on what the objective is, like all of you tell the story together of this, or make me believe this is a, or whatever. So that's another, just a more visual and experimental, Mateo, version of line at a time story that I've got, and a lot of people are really excited about. So if you have a more reserved group that won't be very verbose, this is another more visual way to do it. So just wanted to throw that out there. I'm not going to debrief on that. What we're going to do now, Brian, if you can help, is we're going to send you into groups of 4, new ones, hopefully, just recreate any number. Always go in numerical order. So whoever's the lowest number starts and whoever's the highest number ends in your new group. And just talk about how can we use what we learned today in our work. How can we take this forward and use it in our own lives? And we'll see you in, what, 8 minutes, Judy?
Yeah, I think if there's 4 people, that gives each person a good amount of time to contribute.
Cool.
All right, I think just about everyone's here. Amazing. Okay, so hi, Mateo. Thanks for leaving. So, You guys have been a great group. I would love to hear anybody who wants to share what were some of the highlights of the discussion that you just had.
Or just pending questions too, either or.
I'm theming, this is very helpful with dealing with ambiguity, which we're dealing a lot with lately. Anxiety, the unknown, and this helps step into that and just moving into a space of embracing that. So thank you.
It's funny that security, or that sort of false sense that we all sort of think, and this whole time has forced us to have at least a little bit of a willingness to be open to something that we're not used to. And I think that's probably improv is just really a great thing to help people move into that space. And one of the things that we talked about in our group, and Brian had some good comments on this, hopefully he'll follow up, was that we find that the leaders are usually the ones who are least likely to participate in this kind of thing. And he said there's safety in opting out or something, but if you have any insights onto how to even the playing field, Liz, I had some great comments on how we can use that, but do you run into that too? Is leadership the ones I have an agenda, I'm paying for this, I kind of I'm not thinking outside the box?
Yes. So I usually sell packages where I do one-on-one coaching with the leader as well, and we work on this, and hopefully by the time I'm doing something with the team, they know that they have to lead by example. But when I have sold just like standalone products or a few days or whatever, I try to get at least the manager there. Often the director won't come, but the director has like 40 teams and they probably couldn't come to 40 of these, right? If each of the teams is doing it. So and then I try to have in the pre-planning meeting, a conversation around, I get weird and I get results. And if you don't show your staff that you're willing to do it, they won't do it. So like it's a waste of your time and money if you don't fully participate. And we just have like a frank, if you haven't noticed yet, I am overly honest. So we have a frank conversation. And that's how I handle it. Other people can.
I had an experience in bringing improv to my own company and ran into the same thing of leadership not quite on board fully with participating and kind of being vulnerable in that way.
I feel like they think they're not the ones who need to change their thinking. It's sort of the way they approach it. At least that's been my experience.
Yeah. I think what really kind of made it hit home for the leadership at my company when I was trying to get them to like the full organization to do improv together was again talking about like that dealing with ambiguity piece and talking about how the skills that you learn in like just practicing trying something new, it not fully working the way you expected, but with the group being able to navigate it to something that is actually pretty good. Just kind of making that case to them. They've been like, okay, that's actually something I could see. I can see how that could be valuable for me as well to participate and see happen with the group. So, yeah.
That seems like a no-brainer, but do you find that sometimes it's better just to not have them in the space? I guess it would depend on a million things, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I do think Trent put something in the comments that like we need you to lead by example and show the way is really what you want to keep saying. If they're too busy to, I don't let anybody just sit in the corner and watch my workshops. I'm gonna bring you in and make you the center of attention until you participate. If they're not, I wouldn't tell them not to come, but I would, keep inviting them in at every turn. If they're physically there, as opposed to like a director who's too busy to go to 40 of these because they've got 40 teams. Other key things you guys want to highlight or bring out, questions you have?
Sure. leave for Judy or Samantha, either one. But Judy, if you've done this with people at a company over time, let's say over a year or two, have you gotten some converts? Have you gotten a nuclear group of people to anticipate and do this? Have you seen some growth in people over time, let's say with improv?
Yes, and I will preface, my company is 12 individuals, so we are a dozen people. So being able to see and observe that growth is a little easier. And also, so I can say we work very intimately with each other because we're such a small group. And when I started talking about improv, saying, you know, maybe you'd be really good at improv, you should take a class, you should like try it out, it'll help build your facilitation skills, it'll help build your thinking on your feet skills, and like kind of just being a disciple of improv with everyone that I know. I did get some converts. The leadership, the COO of our company was the one who was like, no, that's too scary. I would be terrible at that. I don't want to do it. And now she's like, we did it. She loved it. She's like, I see so much value in this. Some of my colleagues at the beginning were skeptical and were like, whoa, you do improv? That's so crazy. And now they've gone to workshops, they've incorporated it into the meetings that they lead and in the multi-day offsites that they're doing, because it's one of those things, once you experience it, you get it, and it's so fun. Why wouldn't you want to keep doing it?
Anything else from the gallery that you guys want to bring up? All right, so we want to just share a few more things. Yeah, we don't have to use the word improv. I think like a lot of the improv stuff really helps us as facilitators and thinking on our feet and redesigning on our feet. And we are in conversation with Brian and Mateo about coming back and doing another workshop. I was asked, but it won't give you what an improv class will give you. Like, you is just going to get improv in terms of your own flexibility and confidence building, and right, this will teach you how to do improv in a facilitation role. So I just want to share that Washington Improv Theater is who taught both of us improv. I teach for them. They're also a struggling local NGO because, you know, all the shows are stopped, etc. With COVID. So I'm going to put in the chat in a minute the link to them. I have a class starting with them in a couple weeks, a level 1. I highly recommend taking it. You won't get any of this debrief about how to use it in facilitation. You just won't. But you'll learn a bunch of games and you'll grow exponentially as a person and a facilitator. So that's one. And then 2, I think, well, what do you think is 2, Judy, while I put the link in the thing?
2, well, maybe not a 2, but like a 1.5. I would say, I think it was Greg, you mentioned the dealing with ambiguity piece. I think I've seen in myself and in observing people and the way everyone is dealing with the situation around us, there's a lot of ambiguity. Things are crazy out here. And both in myself and other friends that I have who are in the improv world who have done that, who have built that skill of trying and failing. It's not, and learning that it's not actually failing. It's just, well, we went that direction and we can figure this out together. There's just a certain sense of resilience that it kind of builds, which is so comforting to be able to lean on, okay, even if things are crazy, I know that I can lean into my active listening, I can lean into my imagination and be able to navigate anything that the world is going to throw my way. It's been absolutely life-changing, legit. I'll say that.
And anything, sorry, I interrupted Judy.
No, you're good.
So I think Judy and I just want to give you like a little pitch about each of us and what we can offer both to this group and, you know, if you want to contact us externally, and then we'll say thank you. Judy, why don't you go first?
Well, of course, you're going to make me go first. Okay. So my name is Judy. It's been wonderful to play with you guys today. Again, I think I mentioned before, I do OD consulting. That's really my passion. Just OD work in general. And I think like bringing groups together to solve problems, to play together, to collaborate, to create. That's what I'm really passionate about. And I'm looking for any opportunities out there that let me do that, working with new people. I love meeting new people. I've met a lot of new people because of COVID, because everything's virtual, and I'm like, I'm just gonna meet some people in Australia today, like why not? So would love to work with, collaborate, just have conversations with any and all of you, and you can find me on LinkedIn. We're also gonna send out our contact information if you ever wanna get in contact with any of us for anything.
Great. And I have my own business, and I'm available for all of my experiences are experiential learning with a lot of improv, even though I don't tell the client that necessarily. And happy to collaborate with people on DEI, team building, leadership development, and individual coaching. I'm also probably going to launch an 8 to 10 week course. I've gotten a lot of inquiries of improv specifically for coaches, independent of which would be about 4 to 5 weeks of just you getting some improv skills, and then the second half being about how to facilitate it. So if you're interested, you can reach out to me for that as well. But I always want to connect as well and bring in this fun and transformational work. Also, if you just like have questions, we're going to send you a handout with all of the instructions for these games. Feel free to reach out to me or Judy, and we'll help you, navigate what we presented here today. So I think, thank you. We've got 5 minutes left. If you want to offer anything up or ask anything, we're here, but you can also, go hug your family or whatever it is you do after this.
Eat dinner, whatever you need.
Thanks.
Thank you, Nancy. That's sweet.
That's right. Thanks so much, Samantha and Judy. Everyone, thanks for joining us on this, what's today, Tuesday evening, COVID times. Yeah, so you're welcome to hang out for a few more, let's say, after hours kind of conversations. Otherwise, check us out on Nova Scribes Meetup.